What up, dogs? I'm Miguel. Welcome back to another video. So I haven't uploaded in a few days, but just been busy with stuff and whatnot. Actually, haven't even played for a few days. So it's gonna be another GGE, games, goals, and expectations video. Let me talk about the next light weapon. In this particular video, Magnums. Now this one is I'm actually particularly excited to talk about somewhat, just because it's a very versatile weapon. One of the first weapons that you really get in the game that can really, really define the build that you are using, as opposed to all the tier 1 weapons that are kind of maybe hit or miss depending on how well good of a player you are. Magnums would be the first, one of the first, like tier 2 weapons that you would definitely want to try to get, as many of as possible, I guess, because it's a very, very good weapon. Now basically it has no reload. It says 0.55 seconds, but it basically has no reload. You just, it just does it. It never runs out of ammo because it doesn't really have a reload. So, gonna be talking about several different builds that I would be excited to run these on because they are such a good weapon, or at least a step up from using just starter weapons. So next, the first thing I talk about, I can switch this to the right format. All right, so first robot I'm going to talk about typically is going to be the Destrier. So obviously I'm already running Destriers, and eventually I will be running a couple Magnums on a build at some point, and that should actually be pretty good because I've already been running a Magnum build in my fun hanger on the weekends when I play in the Sage Retro tournaments, and those aren't even fully leveled yet. They're going to be even better, obviously maxed out, and because they are like, you don't have to worry about ammo. You don't have to. The weapon itself is actually not weak at all. It's like I would say probably about a mid tier weapon, to if not like mid tier. Basically speaking, it's definitely not most powerful weapon that's in the game anymore, but it's versatile enough that if you know what you're doing, you can get a lot of bang for your buck. I didn't go over the fact that it does cost 1,000 gold to buy them, but I think that because of how good the weapon is, it probably is worth spending that much. Now, like I said, the Destrier is going to be decent. And once you actually even throw, pilot skills on that and whatnot, and then probably have a drone on there and whatnot, you can probably get quite a decent gameplay out of that. Next is going to be the Gepard, however you want to pronounce it. Now I think the people actually did used to run this a lot back in the day. Actually, that is the one actually I'm running in Sage Retro on the weekends. And I just think, like I said, I think people used to run this back in the day quite a bit, and it's just like, if you're not expecting it, it's definitely not too pleasant to get shot by a few of these, especially if they are leveled. And on the Gepard, it's definitely gonna, that would definitely be one of the tiny bot brawlers I would definitely expect to perform the best, just because of the Magnums. And if you were to run like healing and whatnot, and a lot of extra durability and damage skills on a pilot, that would just really kick some butt if you were had some decent skills. Definitely like a lot of corner shooting and whatnot. Now, the next one, I'm not entirely sure this would actually do all that great. I did put it on the list. Um, Back in the day, I can definitely imagine this, and there is a few people that do run them in the Sage Retros tournaments on the weekends. It is decent there. Nowadays in the current game, I don't think that it would really do all that well. Of course, I'm talking about the patent. This is what I meant that I was talking about. Now, if you were to make that just a little bit tanky so that you can get the most bang out of having that basically infinite ammo with the Magnums, then that would probably be your best bet. Of course, you could add extra damage, but basically making it more tanky is probably what you want to do. So you could probably just do the more damage rather than basically being a glass cannon, because corner shooting with that, as slow as it is, probably not be a great idea. And like I said, you do have to get within 350 meters in order to use the Magnum. So if you were to try to run that, I think probably if you were to try to, let's say, Uberfy it, supercharge it to where it has like the best possible skills on it and whatnot, then I think maybe you might be lucky. You might be able to perform in it in like the middle of Diamond League, probably like Diamond League 2, something like that. But any higher than that, I wouldn't bet on it. But it is um a build that would probably be very fun to run wherever it is you do manage to perform with it. Next is going to be the bolt. So because it does have unlimited ammo, you don't have to worry about always hitting shots every time. But because it is a bolt, because the bolt is a dash bot, you have 3 slots, so it's going to be technically using it on this would be even better than running on the Gareth, because I think this also has a active module. Yes, it does. So on foot it's a little bit slower, but it also has a dash, so it technically makes up for it. It makes it even better. And being able to have that, constant reloading, quick fire, is what would make that just like that much better. Because basically you could just like dash in, fire off a few shots and then dash right back into cover, and it's you wouldn't have to like you said, you wouldn't have to worry about your ammo. You just basically have to make sure that you did in fact aim as precisely as possible as you wanted to land the maximum amount of damage. What's next? Now, alright, so the next one is going to be Gareth. So if you were to run that on Gareth, obviously you would have a Magnum, and you'd probably want to pair that with a Tehran in order to have the full plasma build on a Gareth. Now, it has been a long time since I have seen anyone running this, but I feel like that definitely would have been something people would have been running back in probably like 2016 to 2018, something like that, when it would have been, more prevalent. Nowadays, not so much, because in fact the Gareth is a very squishy bot if you go too high up in the leagues. But you do have that physical shield, so if you were able to use it in a league where not a lot of people have access to a whole lot of splash damage or like flamethrowers or anything like that, then it could do really well. And you can also do some decent corner shooting with that too. But keep in mind, like I said, you do have to keep within 350 meters in order to actually hit your targets. So that is a little bit of a gamble nowadays, being able to get within that range, because for instance, that's Scorpion range. So getting within that range could be risky if you don't know what you're doing. But in terms of fun, running it would definitely be very fun. I think the Gareth has always been fun to run, depending on what weapons you use on it. So out of most of the weapons you can run on the Gareth, I would definitely say that plasma would definitely be one of your best bets. Okay, now next, I'm going to mention the Jesse. Now, normally, whenever I usually mention a robot, it typically means that I would say to go ahead and put one of whatever weapon I'm talking about in each slot. So basically speaking, but in this particular case, running Jesse with 4 Magnums may not necessarily be your best bet, because you're constantly you have basically infinite ammo with the Magnums. So rather than using your infinite ammo with the Magnums, you would probably want to pair the other 2 slots with a different weapon. So you have 300, like I said, you have 350 meters range with the Magnum. But there's plenty of good weapons that you could pair the other 2 slots with. Namely, comes to mind to me would be Punishers. So basically, the way I see that is, you basically be running Punishers as support damage at first, because you had the 500 meters range, and once they got within, about 350 meters range or a little bit closer, you could switch those Magnums real quick, and you'd be able to do a little bit more damage to them that way. Also, that would also really work out, because if you have Magnums, you have energy. That's an energy weapon, and then you have Punishers, that is a physical weapon. So if you are shooting at something like an Ansel, shield, then you could shoot right through them with the Magnums, or you could, if you have physical shields, you can switch to the Punishers that will deal twice as much as damage as any other type of weapon will do to physical shields. I think that so Punishers and Magnums, I think it would work well. You could probably find other ones that would work pretty well, like maybe shotguns or something like that. But Punishers are just the ones that I happen to put on the list. All right. Next is going to be, where is it? Here it is, the Stalker. So clearly the Destrier is going to be fun for me. So what would be even more fun than a Destrier is a Destrier that's even faster and has stealth. That's basically what a Stalker is. Is just basically an ascended version of a Destrier, kind of like a cross between a Destrier and a Pursuer, or like the halfway point, because it came way before the Pursuer ever came. Now, because you do have basically infinite ammo, and you do have that stealth, that would be one of the most perfect weapons to pair with it, because you can just get in, do damage without ever being targeted, unless someone has like quantum radar or something. But depending on where you are at, and if you're in a good position to use it, then that would be just really, really good. And then I'm not mistaken, this also has Mac module on it. So even if you do take a little bit of damage, somehow, whether they have quantum radar or whatever, you are able to possibly heal. Especially if you were to put like a mechanic skill on there or something. All right, what is next? All right, next is going to be, now like I said, most of these ones are just like ones that I'm going to be actually excited to run. So I may not necessarily mention certain ones, only because, not necessarily because I don't think they would do very well. It's just because, me personally, not every single robot in the store is going to be that exciting to run with it. All right, next one I will mention is going to be the Rhino. So now when you're running the Rhino, let me see something. I just wanted to read the ability real quick because I believe I have it right. Yeah, okay. So the reason why I think Magnums and Plasma, so like Terrans, would do really well on the Rhino is because if you're running through your assault mode, you have access to your light weapons, but not your medium weapons. Therefore, Magnums in that position would be really good because you can just continuously fire and hammer, and then what it would be, you basically speaking, the person would either want to, put up a shield of their own or just move out of the way, because basically they can't, unless they have rockets or something to take down your shield or take down your Rhino. That's quite a bit of, let's say someone's 500 meters away from you, and you want to get like right up on them. That's 500 meters that they have to figure out something to do. Because once you get to within 350 meters, you can just fire, basically continuously keep firing them if they're not able to take you down. And then once you get on them, you can take down your shield and unload those Terrans on them as well. I think people did run this quite big build. I never. Rhino was quite prevalent, back in the day. I don't think I ever got a chance to use it myself yet, but I know for a fact that it is a really decent build, at least down in the lower leagues. Unfortunately nowadays, even the most recent bots are still kind of prevalent in the lower leagues, like in Gold League. I see Lynxes and stuff all the time, but in terms of fun, Rhino could still be very fun, especially if you do play in any sort of like retro leagues or something like that. Right. Next is going to be where is it? The Leo. That's what I thought. Okay, so the Leo, you have 3 slots to put in light weapons for a Magnum. So you could, and then, with that being said, the Leo's one of the bots in the game that ever since it got introduced has always been one of the most versatile things, because it does have those 3 lights. You can kind of just put in some decent weapons, and then the heavy weapon can change out, pretty interchangeably too. So several different builds that people could run with Magnums could work really well. So like some runs would be like Magnums with Ansel. You could run the Thunder as it is. You could run the Redeemer to make it a full plasma build, um, and other certain stuff like that. Um, a lot of people did run Ansel back in the day because there wasn't anything, or the Thunder back in the day because there wasn't anything to match that plasma back when the Magnums would have been around and the Redeemer had was not. Sorry, that did not mean to switch back that way. Let's go all that far. Alright, where is it? Alright, alright. Next is going to be the Alkene. So the Alkene has 4 slots, of course. And as squishy as this bot is, if you were to make it, as tanky as possible, that'd probably be your best bet if you want to try to get in with that. Now, of course, the bot itself is actually 4,000 gold, which to me doesn't really sound like it's all that worth it. But if you just happen to want to run it, then obviously that's your business. In terms of fun, I think Magnums, because you don't have to worry about reload. So if you're in the air or if you're on the ground, you don't have to worry about reloading. So in terms of tactics, it makes everything's a lot more simpler. Especially in a bot like this where you do have to be cautious of how of the tactics you do use to run it. I just think that's like one of the best ideas. But keep in mind you do have to get within 350 meters. So maybe going in the air, maybe may not be your best bet if you don't know how to combat whatever enemies you're facing up against. Next is going to be the classic Griffin. So a plasma Griffin, Magnums and Terrans on a Griffin is one of the most classic builds in the game. You can run. A lot of people definitely don't run them anymore. I see them around every so often, especially in the retro tournaments. I will see them occasionally. Now, it used to, like I said, it used to be one of the most dominant. It used to be meta, like back in the day. Believe it or not, it really used to be meta to run Plasma Griffin. So much to the point, it is considered a Plasma Griffin. That was how something was successful or something was prevalent when they actually got a whole nickname, basically like that. Now, in today's game, I wouldn't say that the Plasma Griffin is super, powerful, but in terms of fun, now the Tehran doesn't have infinite ammo, but like I said, the Magnum does. So while you're waiting for your Tyrons to reload, those Magnums can do a lot of the heavy lifting while you're waiting for that reload time. Even though the reload time for Tyrons isn't actually that long, which is good. Now, like I said, nowadays it's not going to be that great, but in terms of fun factor, it's definitely probably one of the most classic feels, and like being able to handle, like handling is a big deal. It's actually a very big deal, depending on like what platform you're using, especially if you're on mobile. Handling for a robot is actually a very big deal because something could be powerful as powerful it wants to be, but if it's not good handling, then you can't get anything out of it. But yeah, definitely one of the most classic builds to run, or robots to run any plasma on would definitely be the Griffin. And like I said, I don't think it probably would be all that powerful. You definitely wouldn't expect it to be in Champions Leagues anymore. But maybe you could possibly see a maxed out one, possibly an expert league if you really were trying that hard. Yeah. So next is going to be where is it? Oh yeah, the next is obviously going to be the successor to the Griffin and the Raven. So you have a little bit more extra maneuverability because you do have 2 jumps instead of just 1. And then if you absolutely wanted to, you could also put a jump unit or jump jet, whatever you want to call it, in the active module slot. Basically speaking, it would just be that much better than the Griffin. Alright, what's next? Alright, next one I kind of would be excited to run would be on the Hell Burner. So you do have to get within 350 meters, use plasma. I keep saying it awfully so for some reason. So, now I think you have to get within 100 meters to use the overload. No, 75 meters. I thought it was 100. Okay, no, you have to get pretty close to to use them anyway. So if you're going to use that, you might as well have a weapon that's definitely going to do a lot of burst damage. So why not have something like the Magnum and then probably a Redeemer along with it in order to do that? To be able to accomplish that sort of goal, you definitely want to probably try to make it as tanky as possible so that you can get within that range without just being absolutely obliterated before you can even get within range to do that. Next is going to be one that is going to be very, very exciting to use. Would be the Pursuer, which is that much better than the Stalker. I think they have the same amount of stealth time, but one has much better stats. One has an extra weapon, so it's going to be basically like a combination of Stalker and a Gepard, but that much better. So you have a few more modules, and then like I said, the stats are much better, and it's just one of the Pursuer in terms of fun factor definitely is one of the most prevalent bots that's ever been in the game. And I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where it's not fun to run anymore. So yeah. Second. Just 1 second. Okay. Let me get back to it. What is the next one? Okay. Next one is going to be the Mercury. Now, of course, the Mercury is always a very fun robot to run in itself. If you do have the privilege of running one, you can be able to drop on people's heads and deal damage. Is really fun. And what better to pair with that than a weapon that is going to be up in somebody's face anyway, within 350 meters, and is to be able to shoot somebody. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm being a little bit slow here, just trying to process everything I'm talking about. Right, drink of water. All right. Next is definitely a very good idea. Is going to be the Mender. So, with a Mender, you're running around healing and whatnot, and probably a good idea to have while you are running around and healing. Now in you could technically do it in free for all, but typically when I think of a Mender, I think of healing teammates more often than I think about healing myself. So if you're running a Mender, you're probably going to be wanting to run a weapon that can do a decent amount of damage at close range. That way, you can, if one of your teammates is currently locked in some sort of brawl, you can come back them up and deal a decent amount of damage at the same time. So now that does have 2 light slots, so you end up having 2 Magnums and probably a Tehran if you wanted to run all plasma. So basically, once that Tehran ran out, you would still have 2 Magnums that would do still do a great amount of damage especially at max level. What's next? All right, next one seems fairly obvious because it's literally right next up. Would be the Loki. So typically, the people do run Lokis nowadays is to just kind of run stealth and cap a bunch of beacons, and that's fine and all. But if you're going to run a Loki, odds are you're probably going to run a weapon you probably are going to want a weapon that's able to kind of just like get up in somebody's grill and do decent damage in a short amount of time. So Magnums are definitely a way to do that. That way you don't have to worry about your ammo reloading at all. You basically just unleash weapons and unleash them damage and go right back into stealth if you want to. Now next would be, especially in terms of fun factor, would be the tier. So unfortunately, this is the way the thing is set up is that you don't actually always have access to your Magnums, but I think being able to pull them out when you are out of ammo from the Terrans, if you were to run full plasma, would be a very, very, very good idea. Especially to you to max it out. You're gonna make that quite tanky as possible if you wanted to, near as tanky as you can get out of a tier. Would probably be one of your best bets. Now, what's next? All right, where's your next boy? Where is it at? All right, next one that would be definitely very fun to run, especially definitely utilizing the fact that you do have pretty much infinite ammo with the Magnums is going to be the Invader. So you have two, you have two light slots into a medium slot. So plus you always have the suppression for when you jump and use your ability. Now the Invaders was notoriously been a very tanky robot. So if you were to make that very very tanky and run plasma on it, then obviously that would be a very fun build for you because you have lots of survivability. I'm not sure how well it performs nowadays because it is definitely not a very new bot, but in terms of how well it's performed in the past, it's definitely, I would still say it's probably very tanky. This maybe not necessarily against the newer things, but because you do have that possibility of long survivability because it's tanky, and then you also have infinite ammo. It's just always going to be a good combination of being able to tanky and quick reload. Tanky and quick reload is always going to be a good combination. What's next? What is next? Possibly one of the best examples of a bot to run Magnums on is going to be the Blitz. So, with the Blitz, you have that break-in ability where you activate an Aegis and then also suppress the enemy that you're aiming at. And that's just an amazing example. Like I said, an amazing example of robot to run Magnums on because you don't have to worry about the ammo. You basically just have to worry about you don't have to worry about conserving ammo. You just have to worry about you know going in and out of cover when you have the availability, and then worrying about how fast your ability recharges so you can continuously keep using it in situations. And of course, Blitz has always been a good brawler. Now, like I said, like you typically say, nowadays I'm not sure how it perform as well. I know it's still pretty, really, really good bot. But of course, like I said, there's always some new stuff that's coming out that kind of like is always going to make the older stuff, just a little bit weaker. But in terms of fun factor, I can pretty much almost guarantee you, other than the fact that I haven't actually run it myself, in terms of fun factor and how many videos I've watched about it, Blitz and Magnum is a very, very good combo, especially if you max it out, Uberfy, supercharge, or whatever you want to call it, and run as many skills as possible. One of these days, I probably will end up doing plenty of videos about the Blitz and what kind of skills you can run on it for different styles of gameplay. Alright, next is going to be where is it? The Hades. Alright, so with the Hades, you have 500 meters with that built-in ability, which actually, with that built-in ability, if you play it properly, you should maybe get within 150 meters. Basically speaking, if you're at 500 meters and someone tries to shoot you, you can activate your ability and hope, if you play it right, you should be able to get within that 350 meters within that time, by the time the shield drops. Now that never is going to be your best idea, only because once the ability drops to Hades, it maybe not the most powerful bot. If you definitely want to make it as most tanky as possible, but you also got to remember that shield ability also gives you time to get behind cover. So if you manage to get A, behind cover, and B, within 350 meters, you can do a decent bit of corner shooting. If you really know what you're doing, just hope you don't run into like rockets and stuff. Now, what is going to be next? All right, probably another one of the best examples to run that on plasma on in general is going to be the Scorpion. So of course you have the 350 meters range that you have to get within. I think is it 350 meters? Where does it say? Yeah, teleport range 350 meters. So when you do teleport behind somebody, like, you don't really have to worry about the range of the weapon so much because they technically do have the same exact range as the weapon in order to teleport. So technically, you could probably start popping off some rounds at somebody before you teleport, maybe, and then when you do teleport, um, you can basically just unload right in their back and then teleport right back. Now, because it is 350 meters, probably one of the best things you want to do. Now, I'm not actually a Scorpion user myself yet. I probably have used it in like skirmishes and stuff like that. But like a tactic I could imagine working would probably be maybe you corner shoot just a little bit, to unload a weapon, and almost like while you're waiting for that to reload, you activate your teleport ability so that way as soon as your weapons are reloaded, you're already teleported right behind that person to unload another clip right into their back and then teleport right back. And like I said, because maxed out, 2 Tarans and a Magnum on a Scorpion would be no joke. That would probably hurt quite a bit. Alright, next is going to be the Ares. So, you definitely have to manage to get within 350 meters with this. Again, which could be very risky, but like I said, you do have that shield that is trying, you can try your best to try to utilize that with the get him with range. Now, as opposed to, of course, technically speaking, the best time to shoot is probably always going to be within inside your retribution or your purple shield. But definitely within this because you are already firing all those weapons, so you might as well fire them all at the same time anyway. Now, yeah, because you do have 350 meters range, but the Magnums don't need to reload, but the Trons do. So possibly what could work for you very well is maybe, depending on who you're fighting and what situation you are fighting them, is to unload your clips of Tarans into them, and then while you're waiting for them to reload, then you activate your retribution shield, so that by the time your Trons finish reloading, you're able to fire their entire, be able to shoot your entire, salvo all at one time. Your built-in weapons and your plasma at one time. And I don't really know if technically the built-in weapon is meant to be plasma based, but it is kind of somewhat works like that anyway. Right. Next is going to be excuse me. This is a fairly long video. It's just Magnum is a very versatile weapon, so that's probably why I am allowing it to, be on so many different builds. Next, it's interesting that I put this on the list. Next, I would say if you are able to get with that in that amount of range, sneakily would be the Hawk. So if you were to throw a couple Magnums on there and then a couple of Redeemers, and no, Redeemers are no joke. If you actually get those max, they have been obviously nerfed in the past, just like everything that's older has been. It's been nerfed. But a couple of max Redeemers, a couple of max Magnums, plus that flying ability. If you're able to get with 350 meter range, that I can guarantee you that's not going to be too pleasant getting shot with, depending on what robot you are actually using. Especially if they do have an active module. Even if you go into stealth, they could possibly have quantum radar. So yeah, that wouldn't be too pleasant to get shot with. Therefore, I think it'd be very fun to run yourself. Probably best bet would probably be in something like TDM or in free for all. Next is going to be. Here we go. Where is it next? All right. Next is going to be the Phantom. So the reason why I say the Phantom is because if you're running Plasma on a Phantom, you hit 350 meters range. So basically, you could be within that range anyway. So you're going to want to, or even if you're not within that amount of range, what you could do is if you activate your ability to charge within that range, unload some shots into some unlucky bastard, and then immediately dip right back where you came from. And because you do have that constant ammo, you don't have to worry about really missing that much. Obviously you want to probably try to hit most of your shots, but you don't really have to worry about hitting every single one of your shots because it is a weapon that just is constantly firing. Next is going to be probably another one of the best robots, to run the Magnum on is going to be the Kepri. So, Kepri has obviously been one of the robots in the games has always been best used as a tank. It's always, well, even right out the bat, it kind of comes a little bit tanky. But basically, if you make a Kepri as tanky as possible and you run 4 Magnums on it, I can just imagine that how much whoop ass it would actually unleash. So yeah, in terms of fun factor, it'll definitely be really fun. Because basically speaking, you have 4 Magnums, and they all fire at the same time. So unless like one of them gets blown off, right, you're essentially just basically punching someone in the face over and over with one giant plasma cannon. All right, next is going to be here we go. Next is going to be another robot that I think would be very well. Is going to be the Nether. So unfortunately, the Nether is getting like nerfed soon or whatever, so it's not going to be as good. But even being then, why not? Even better, more reason to run something like the Nether because you are going to want to have like the most impact while you are shooting and are capable to be able to being out in the open so that you don't get your butt kicked. So a weapon like the Magnum is definitely going to be very good for like a weapon or a robot like the Nether because it is a robot that you don't want taking a whole lot of heat. So you want to keep dashing in and out. So you want a weapon like the Magnum so that you can be able to land a few shots and then immediately dash away and then land a few shots and then immediately dash away and then so on and so forth. What is next? All right, now the last 3 are kind of like just kind of personal preference. They're actually not they're actually not even all in here. So the next one I can technically go to my inventory to show one, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Where is it? Where is one? Where's one at? It doesn't really matter. Where is it at? Here it is. The Golem. So, Golem's always a very fun robot to run. And now, if you have a light slot, and I think the Golems is fun to run because it was one of the first robots in the game to ever have one of each weapon hardpoint, and running like a Magnum, a Tron, and a Redeemer on that. People have done that in the past. It's always been pretty fun. Not sure how well it's going to perform. Just like I said, mostly in terms of fun factor, that's definitely something I would personally run in my own fun hangar. In certain situations. But yeah, just basically not necessarily for the novelty of running one at a time because there are like Skyros and stuff like that other there's other robots that have that same kind of uniqueness, I guess. But just because Golem is it's not even no longer in the store anymore, you can no longer purchase it. So me personally being one of the older players, I guess, because I've been playing since 2016, have absolutely owning that, I guess technically that's just me, like something unique that I can bring to my gameplay that not every person that plays the game nowadays can. Yeah. I did want to mention the fact that, I believe the light slot's on the right side. I'm just gonna quit this right quick. Yes, it is on the lights. Oh, no. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. But basically speaking, I was going to, like, reference, like, corner shooting again. Because if you're corner shooting with a weapon like Magnum, you don't have to worry about ammo. So it's not like you have to, it's like you have to, like, oh, I have to reload now so I can keep corner shooting. But you can just keep corner shooting with that one light weapon if you really wanted to do a decent amount of damage. But you wouldn't have to worry about concern about ammo. You just have to worry about maybe not getting hit by rockets and, like, seeing what else is going around in the battlefield instead of just corner shooting. Now, the next 2 robots, one of them is actually in the game already. I'm going to go to store. go to the store, is going to be the Ochikachi. So the Ochikachi has been in the game for a couple weeks, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks now, I think. Now I mentioned the Ochikachi because it is it's a it's a bitch. It's incredibly hard to take down. Like, you know what you're doing, obviously you can take it down. It's not, you know, impossible to take down, but it's a lot of people have expressed the fact that it is kind of a broken uh, bot. It is too powerful to most stuff that comes out, immediately is gonna usually seem kind of broken, but like the Ultra Culture is just like terrible. I've seen like the kind of scores amount of people amount of kills people are able to get with this robot, and it's just kind of ridiculous. Several people have made videos, Manny, like Predator, and all them that have like definitely released videos saying that this bot needs to like kind of be banned and stuff like that. And I tend to agree with them because it's just like it needs to be nerfed. It definitely needs to absolutely be nerfed because people who have it, even the people who have it admit that like it's too powerful, and even the people that want to get it, like I want to get it, but even I know that it's too powerful for the game nowadays. Like there's no place for a robot that dang powerful. So hopefully it does get nerfed. But like I said, I just still want to mention it because running plasma on it, I just think because the Ochikachi, how you want to pronounce it. Anyway, it's definitely one of the definitely a robot that you're gonna want to be up in somebody's business with. You're definitely want to be at close range with, and a weapon like weapons like that. You're a weapon like that, like the Magnum and the Tron, of course, to make it plasma is going to be very beneficial, especially considering the fact you have unlimited ammo with those two Magnums. So yeah, definitely, especially I can probably imagine Ultra Culture you probably do really really well in today's meta with plasma. If no other bot does, then the Ultra Culture definitely would. Yeah, and then the next one I'm going to mention, I don't really have a bot to to actually look at right now because it's not technically even officially in the game yet. Is going to be the Dagon. So the Dagon is still on test servers right now, but if you know what I'm talking about, the Dagon is going to be the first robot in the game that's going to have 6 light slots. And with a light slot come with with 6 light slots comes great responsibility, or something like that. I mean, so if you have 6 light slots, I think their idea was that they kind of wanted you to be able to run like a couple different types of weapons in order to make the Dagon most effective. But most people probably just going to run most of the same weapon. So if you're going to do something like that, probably best idea is going to be able to run something that is not too super expensive. I don't think that the Magnum is super expensive. But you're probably going to want to do that. Why not run a weapon that essentially has no reload, like the Magnum? Now, I have seen the Dagon perform fairly well on test server. Now, of course, if you don't know what you're doing, because like even my video, I realized that if you did not know what you were doing with the Dagon, you were not going to just automatically get kill after kill after kill. But that comes with the territory. It comes with anything you use. But Magnums, I think, if you're able to actually get within the 350 meter range, then, getting shot by 6 Magnums from one robot, that's almost essentially getting shot by like 2 bots at the same time, some people have said. So, like, that would probably be pretty painful. And you don't have to worry about them aiming. You don't have to worry about them reloading. You just have to worry about that ability. You have to worry about that ability refreshing and whatnot, not the weapons. So if you're getting shot by 6 Magnums, you probably want to take cover or you're going to die. Like, you're gonna get your butt whooped. But like me personally, definitely, obviously, once the Dagon is released to the live server, and eventually when I am able to get a hold of one, Magnums is definitely one of the weapons that I would be most excited to run on it, simply because you do not have a reload and it could kick butt. It will most definitely likely kick butt. So that is the end of my list, and unfortunately this video is running pretty long, almost 45 minutes. Didn't exactly plan on that, but typically with these weapons that do are a little bit more versatile, I am going to have much longer list, simply because they kind of deserve that much more to talk about, because they, like I said, they're more of a versatile weapon, more of a impactful weapon than others are. But that is going to wrap up this video. Um, yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, sorry. Yeah, but that's going to wrap up. Stupid. Yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. Underdog. Oh!